بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Hi. No, these sofas are not good enough, and that's what we're talking about just now, because given my height, I'm just kind of in a sort of weird situation.
It's only females who can pull it off.
What females,
Well.
anyway? Whatever. Well,
Wear your couch well.
wear your couch well or sit your couch well. How are you doing, Ju?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for letting me being here and blabbing around.
I'm glad you're here. I'm done with all the torture that I get from this side.
Talk to the hand.
Talk
huh?
to the hand.
Talk to them.
You said you're doing well, you're happy. All the time I've known you, I've never seen you complain. You always have that glow about you. But personally, and if you forgive me for mentioning this, I know that you have struggled in your earlier years with self-worth, about feeling, are you good enough?
That's right.
And there are not just individuals, but the whole families, groups, countries today who question, are they good enough? Given the imbalance of resources in today's world, there are countries thinking, we are not good enough.
That's right.
We need to go to another country. There are people, there are families, we're just not good enough. So I would like you to cover that, but in particular, individually, when people fall into this trap of, am I good enough? And then the environment reinforces that you are not good enough. It starts from as young children, when parents compare between siblings, or parents just say, you know, my life is miserable because of you. Why did I have you? You
It was
just
better if you were not there.
We hear
Well,
these
you should have thought about that at conception.
Yeah, but
You are the reason behind all the problems. I cannot walk away from
Yeah.
the relationship because, you know, I have to look after you. I have to think
Right.
about you.
oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of people stay in marriages because of children.
That's right.
And children later on realize that how our parents are miserable.
I am a
because-
product of one of that,
Yeah.
actually.
So how do you deal with that, Ju?
Well, how did I deal with that? I had no idea how to deal with it, so I ran away to sports, because sports and education gave me an outlet where I actually got acknowledgement, and if I got an A, it was great, you know, and that my teacher pat me and I was, you know, on the top of my class. So I kept studying, and in sports I kept excelling because I got reinforcement that I'm good enough there. So just look at life and look at where people spend their times. They spend their times normally where they feel good enough. So it doesn't matter where that is, that place, just think about it for a moment. They feel good enough, they will go there. Even if it's in an area when there are drug addicts and all these other areas which we should be talking about it, among themselves they feel good enough. They don't belong to a society which rejects them. One of the emotional wounds which actually are talking about is rejection, abandonment. Two major ones, how children can be felt unwanted, worthless, helpless, and undeserving. Because these are the major feelings which is engraved into a child through parents. And if a child experiences this 1, 2, 3 years of their lives that early,
But you,
actually this is where it comes and hurdles into life events later on.
but this involves somebody else taking you there. When you're old enough and you have come to believe that I'm not good enough, then do you need intervention?
You don't know.
Do you need somebody else? Exactly, you don't know. So
What it means is if they say that if you are ready for a change, the teacher will appear. That's what we say. So in a behavior scale of being, you know, change, first of all, if somebody talks about these things of selflessness, you know,
Right.
then you say, oh, I don't have that, I'm so confident.
We don't accept
and
it.
the confidence is only just outside.
Sure.
Inside is a very soft little heart, which, you know, it's just a protection. So then the next phase is that if somebody talks about it, yes, you have it because I can see that you always prove yourself, you always an expert in everything, then you get angry and you start saying, no, I don't have that. What are you talking about? Get out of my life. So all of a sudden you see, okay, this guy is in an anger phase. So most people stay in their anger phase all in their lives. And then,
Yeah.
you know what happens? They get sick. because anger creates
Right.
illness.
Eventually.
It will break your body down. Anger is bitterness. There's a lot of illnesses in your heart and in your liver. And then look at the next phase. When you almost die, because you have to hit that point, it's your ego. Ego dies or your body dies. And you wake up and says, all right, God gave me another chance. I woke up. I had a heart attack and I woke up. So what's next? I must change. Because if I continue the same way I did before, I will get the same result. And you know what? Some people do. They keep going, heart attack and a stroke and a this and a that. And then finally there is a pneumonia and they die.
Right.
So they never wake up. Now, if you are there listening, and if you had already problem physically, that means your body 90% of the time can cope with illnesses. When 90% of the damage is done, it will come out of the symptoms. So if you already feel low, blue, and you sit like this a lot, and you feel great sitting like this, and you feel great lying down and watching TV, you feel great like this, you know you have a problem. You know you have a problem. Most people don't think they have. Yes, you do. So if you realize that, let me try something else. You try something else, you feel better. Says, okay, this is a different feeling compared to what I have been feeling. So let's keep doing that. And exercise is one of the things which can help you with that. Feeling low calls you to move. So if you can just engrave your brain in that, the feeling low causes you to move, that means get up from the chair, start moving, start getting up and down. And I'm serious when I'm saying that. You do this, get your heart rate up, and all of a sudden things will change.
Well, that's a very good point. See, when you feel low, we misunderstand that as a sign where our body is calling for rest.
Yeah.
Your body is not telling you to rest. Your body is telling you to get up and work
That's
out.
right.
Yeah.
When you're feeling low, it's not because you're tired. It's because you've got lethargy. You're being lazy.
Yeah.
You need to actually bring it back up. So that's a very good point you've made.
Imagine in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, you know, you can bring different feelings onto yourself and you can put yourself into different states. Now, look at the person who is depressed, how they usually look like. This, right? And they look down. So when you look down and you bend your body forward, it's impossible to feel good because you're accessing feelings of loneliness through your eyes in your brain. Now try this. You look up, you open your chest and you stand up, for example. Try to cry and feel bad like that. It's impossible. And even if you cry like this, you lift your head up, within a minute you will stop crying. This is how you stop crying a kid. Lift the head up. Try it for yourself. Now, do you deserve it that you are allowed to feel good, not to feel low all the time? Because truthfully, when you live in a miserable family, where everybody is in misery, they don't allow you to be happy.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting?
That's very...
Right?
I was just
so
trying
you
it.
only deserve to be feeling low and complain, and they only get you attention or give you attention if you are sick.
Right.
So you always make yourself sick because, oh, if I'm sick, okay, I'm going to have some attention.
And even as adults, it's really an attention-seeking syndrome. It's attention-seeking tactic. We oh, things are so bad because they want attention. You want me to, oh, really? So we want. But what you said about looking up, I was just trying that. And if you notice, just think back that whenever you're crying and you're trying to stop yourself from crying,
You just look up.
you just gotta. You look up and you breathe.
Yeah, oftentimes it's like, oh God.
Yeah.
You know,
So you're
nobody
looking,
when you
looking
fall
towards
forward,
God, but
yeah.
It's
But yeah.
good. It's good because you actually connect. One of the things is people forget to breathe. So people who are depressed, you are like this. You can't breathe. There is
the
no
shallow
space.
breathing, yeah.
This is how you are. So this is how you. When you are crying, this is how you breathe.
Right.
You don't breathe.
And when you
The
exercise,
air
you breathe
comes-
better. When you work out, you can breathe better.
So you know what? Go out, run, and cry. You will stop crying. So
And you'll start feeling better.
You know what? Depression is all about interruption. Stop fighting it, accept it. Because if you grew up in there, you can't fight it, but you can accept it and you can manage it. Because all in your life, you will have those life events which will create sadness, felt abandoned, rejected, humiliated, betrayed, all that. It will still come, but you will learn to manage it. And if you can practice this for about 2 years, you are a changed individual because you rewired your brain how to react in these situations. So one of the simplest thing is look up and breathe. You don't have to react and give back a reaction. You just distance yourself and say, okay, now what did just happen?
Yeah.
You can even lie down, put your feet up and say, that's interesting.
Right.
And then, I was in a situation when we were standing outside of a restaurant and everybody was making me feel to make a decision about something which wasn't really my call. So I said, I'm going to leave them make a decision. We're standing 5 minutes and I just look up to the sky and I breathed and I froze. And everybody went like, what's with her? And it was too much of an intense situation because it was in front of a restaurant that they had to actually make a decision where what's the next step is going to be. And then I just stood there, I just froze, and you know what? They worked it out themselves.
That's an interesting point. Not the topic of discussion. A little bit a little stronger than me. Not the topic of discussion today, but it's a very good point that we inherently have the desire to jump in and take control.
Right.
Some of us do. To jump in, take control, and say, let me solve this for you.
Yeah.
Or if we just let them to their own design, they will figure it out.
Yes.
That
And
has been my recent
depression
lesson,
is
by
a
the way.
reaction to what happened. Who engraved you or conditioned you that when something like this happened, you have to start feeling sad and low? Because if you look at that, for example, someone died. It's a sad situation because most people experience loss. When there are societies, death is being celebrated of the person, what he achieved and
His
what
passing.
he gave you.
Celebrate the passing instead of the loss.
So who culturally engraved you that you're gonna have a loss when someone dies? What are you losing? If that person gave you enough love and you love yourself enough, can you lose anything? Truthfully, no. All what you have to remember is to retrain yourself that what did I gain by having that person in my life? Doesn't matter if my mother died early enough, what did she give me? And what kind of a chance do I have from here on being independent to make it better?
Be happy that she happened. Be happy that while it's again a hugely cultural thing. There are cultures who celebrate, and like you said, the cultures don't.
Yeah.
And those who don't be seen as very offensively right now.
And you know what? Fundamentally, if you can celebrate life and the fact that your Almighty God gave you life and you are here physically, and every day this is good enough to awaken to, everything else what happens in your life is a bonus. So what is it to cry about? What is it to cry about? So you have to believe this as a fundamental truth. So I believe in your religion, being alive is also something to celebrate, isn't it? You celebrate a childbirth, a child who came to this world, right? And we don't hear anything else on television that who died. So why not start celebrating who has been born? And there is a chance to have this little person to uniquely grow up and be an individual who she or he wants to be. And you as a parent, be there to guide that person instead of forcing your things which you haven't done in your life onto that child. So here is depression begins. So think about your child. Why are you bringing up? Why are you having a child? Because I believe family planning should come in also into societies like this. We have to think about when is a good time, when are we ready? Is our relationship strong enough to bring a third person? You bring a third person in a child to fix your relationship, you are out for misery. Big misery.
You know, when you're talking about self-worth, just last element I think that what I would like to talk about is we're often too concerned about what others say or think about us. Or we're too concerned about what my mother thinks, or when I'm being compared with someone. Oh, look, she was so better in that work, and look what you've done. Oh, look, she scored so much, such better scores. What have you done?
But this is how you are engraved that you are not good enough. So this is just a very good example of that.
So, you know, comparison with others, where my set of skills are obviously not going to match yours. So I have my own thing and you have your own thing, but the comparison, yes, it does bring kids down. Secondly is what he thinks of me. If I'm doing
What
the
will
certain,
people say?
what do people have to say about me? We're too concerned about that also.
And that comes from parenting. So if your
Yeah,
parents,
since you're a child, you're told, oh, what will people
whatever
think of
you are
you?
doing
Yeah.
is not good enough. So you either rejected or abandoned for what you did. Therefore, a child starts to think that I cannot be me, because if I am me, my mom and dad will reject me or abandon me, because in their value system, what I am doing is not good enough. Therefore, not what I am doing is not good enough, but I am as a person not good enough. There's a major difference in that. If you
Yeah.
learn to judge or give a feedback to your child on the activity itself or the behavior instead of the person, then
Very
you can
good
train
point.
your
Very good
child
point.
that what you did was wrong. Not you are wrong, what you did was wrong.
Very good
and
point.
this is how you change that.
Because when we scold children, we scold them for them,
Well, for
not for
them.
what they've done.
That's
It's not
right.
like, look what you've done. It's like, oh, you're always trouble, you're a problem
Oh,
child.
generalization. So he
Right.
starts to believe I am not good
Right.
enough.
It's
That's
not
how
that
he's
this was an
born.
accident, I made one mistake, doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It's just a mistake. But we establish that you are a bad person. You are trouble, you are a problem.
So now look at what happens in very little babies, right? Everything is trial and error. You have a feedback. The baby is born and starts to crawl, right? Crawl.
yeah.
And then they grab on something, they stand up and they walk. And then they will fall.
Yeah.
So what do parents do? They run there and they pick up the child. You know what the child is learning through that?
I always have someone to
I
pick
am
me up.
not good enough. I cannot make it by themselves. I need outside help. So he will sit there and cry until you go there and stand him up. So if you let the child stand up on his own or on her own, he or she will be, because that's an engraved biological thing to try, to strive,
You're
to
encouraging the
stand
kids
up.
to-
So encourage.
to try.
So when your child stands up, you praise, you did it on your own. And you let them fall, because why are
Falling
you
is natural.
why are you protecting your kids? And when you know later on things comes, more serious things, you sit down with your child and you ask questions and you say, well, there are consequences of doing things this way or that
The
way.
right and the wrong, you set it for them.
Well-
and then they make choices
Well,
themselves.
basically, you say you choose. And even if they say, I want to try drugs, I want to smoke. You know what? You as a parent, to take out curiosity, they better do it with you than away from you, where you don't see them, where they might just overdose and die. I'm not encouraging all that.
No, I know
but
what you're
this
saying.
This is today. And if you engrave your children and teach them 0 to 7 what's right and wrong, they will never touch drugs, smoke, and alcohol. It's self-worth. They are not going to be looking out for their society, feel good enough, belonging. They run away from home. So you as a parent, you should look into yourself, why is my child running away from home and drinking with those kids? Obviously, he and she is not feeling home and
A
love.
child is finding salvation out of the home. That is so sad.
That's right.
Where the family should be the salvation.
If your child, you give at home enough trouble for your kids to feel good, to be with you, do things with your kids. This is why I was saying active parenting is important. Take your kids with you for your morning walk, morning run, afternoon. Do things with your children. Play with the blocks.
You will
Whatever
create a
it is.
relationship. You'll inculcate that in them. You
Yeah,
will.
the bonding time.
And also you bring them those
trust.
values.
Right.
And that's trust. If then your child going to come to you and say, Dad, what is your opinion about this and this called of drugs or this and this? What is your opinion? Wouldn't you be happy say, oh my God, my son actually came to me and asked this question. How happy should make you feel? You shouldn't be scolding your kid.
And then don't lie or scold.
No.
Oh, how dare you ask me this? No.
Yeah, we discourage. We tell a lot of
And
parents.
we would lie, and that's what this guy said. If you tell them it's a
Yeah.
horrible thing,
Yeah.
but it's a fantastic thing, then that is the problem with this. That is
Yeah.
so good it messes you up.
Yeah.
So
Messes you.
tell them
So-
it's good. Don't do it. It's gonna get you.
Yeah.
So you know what? The thing is that if they experience it and they experience the day after effect, that means pleasure and pain.
Yeah.
They can choose that, you know what, now I am consciously choosing, I know temporarily it's gonna give me pleasure, but the after effect is worse.
Exactly.
So you must have this, if your child only just knows about it, you know, they won't believe that because they're only prohibited. Everything which is prohibited, people want it. You know, the brain doesn't know the word don't. Don't. They hear everything else which is after. Don't do that. When it's a child here, do that. Very simple. So don't be a hypocrite to tell something to your child what you did before and you know what it is. Sit down and explain. Your kids want you to sit down and explain. What is the question which comes to the kids? Why, Dad? Why, Mom? Why don't you tell me? So they feel, you don't tell me because I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to be told.
Also, and I
explained.
think, yeah, it's better to be told at home than be told from the
Than
other
the learning
side,
on the street.
because you really don't know what is actually being told or being taught to you on the streets.
And don't let them self-learn either.
Yeah.
We have to start talking.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of cultures talk, a lot of cultures don't. Those who don't have to start
They have
talking.
to.
You can take a child as a 5 years of age, they are very, very capable, to drug addicts. Let them drive through. Let them watch how they live and say, see, starting that will get you here. Do you want to live like this? Or you want something else?
So they would have the consequence in front of them.
Yeah,
Instead of getting beaten up for asking the question, they should understand,
Come,
be educated
sit
about
in
it.
the car, let's go see that.
And you find your own answer. And you're right, a 5-year-old can evaluate and find the answer.
You know what? The most important thing what parents can do is talk to children and ask for their opinion. And allow them to say their opinion, because they have already, by 5 years of age, 95% of the neural system is developed. They're very capable to hold conversations if you would have the patience to sit down with them and talk. Kids can tell you amazing stuff and you can have very good conversation, but you have to sit down and converse with them. How are you going to develop your kids into a conversing?
Very important to talk.
Now you understand why talking is so important.
He talks. I think he really knows the importance.
I think you both.
And listen.
I think both of you
And
need to learn how to listen.
No, we do. You
That's
need
right.
to listen more.
If there was something worth listening to, well, thank you very much. We talked about effective and better parenting and relationships with your children. Till next time. Ta.